Good morning, everybody. This is Casey Reginald Jr.
It's your man J Dub, aka Justin Waters.
Welcome to Underdog Sports, and let's get right into it. To start everything off, this is a special episode as we are getting ready for regular season week 1. But before we can even talk about that, let's go out to Oakland and Antonio Brown.
Oh boy, it started. Well, it ended. Just when we thought the saga continues was over with Antonio Brown, it still continues to go. I didn't predict it would be that bad in Oakland. I'm serious. When the Steelers traded him for a third and a fifth, I never thought it was going to be to that point. I knew he was going to be a distraction at times, social media and his brand, and skipping practice to do not movies, but TV shows. He was on The Masked Singer, which he was terrible. But never to this point where they had to void the man's contract. I mean, as much as everybody got on the Steelers, we kind of got away with murder with this one. I'm actually not mad anymore.
Yeah, I tell you that the world was kind of upset that you got the number one wide receiver in football at the time for a third and a fifth round pick, and all of us thought you got robbed. I think you're winning that trade right now because he may actually not play a single regular season game for the Raiders in 2019.
Boy, you have no idea.
So if no one knows what we're talking about, overnight the Raiders sent Antonio Brown language voiding his $30 million guaranteed and let him know basically that he's a week-to-week player. He gets paid when he shows up to play. And this morning, in response to that, he posted a video about the conversation with he and John Gruden, and then goes on Instagram literally about 10 minutes ago asking for his release from the Oakland Raiders.
So here's the thing. The video came out last night, and everybody went nuts. So it hit the Vegas market when my wife and I were leaving Vegas, and it hit the market, I guess, to them first, whoever now. I don't even know how it beat his own IG post. But between you calling Mike Mayock out of his name, and you said you punched him in his face because of something you did, because you posted your fine on social media, which is that's the first time I've ever seen any time someone's ever posted their fine on any platform, social media or otherwise. But you did this to yourself, and now you're mad, and now you want to release. Man, dude, you're 31 years old. Yes, you are one of the top 5 receivers in the league. Don't get me wrong, hands down, you are cold. But you do realize that they can blackball you. This is going to happen. These owners are not going to play. And, I mean, unless they're desperate, Miami. I always keep saying Miami. This thing may be on his last legs. He may not see another NFL contract. He damn sure is not going to see another $30 million bonus. That's gone. So good luck with that one.
Well, here's my thing. No one's that desperate to take this kind of chance. I was, up until the release me part, I thought he was playing a game that, I can get released and go to a contender, and maybe I'll make out better. I thought going into the day, up until the saga, that he was just he went through training camp with the Raiders, saw they weren't a very good football team, and asked him and was forcing his way out. But the way he's doing it, there's no one, not even on like a $500,000 a year contract, that's going to take this kind of risk.
Totally agree with you. Now, I keep thinking back and forth, who's ever been this bad? Randy Moss in his bad boy days wasn't that bad. T.O. in his bad boy days, even the stuff he did in Philly, still wasn't that bad. Because at the end of the day, both of those guys got released and got paid. It worked out for Randy because obviously he went from the Raiders to a contender. This is where I thought AB was going. Like he just said, I thought AB was sitting there like, you know what? I can act a fool with the Raiders, which is going to be the bottom feeder. I don't see them, and we'll talk about predictions later, but I don't see them winning more than 7 games. I don't see them winning more than 5 games, actually.
Yeah, now I maybe 3.
Yeah. Not with the old school coaching and John Gruden. They have a solid core now with I like the kid Jacobs, but still don't understand his drafting. We can talk about that, but the drafting of the kid from Clemson, who wasn't even the best player on that line, is still mind-boggling to me compared to 11-man Ed Oliver walk, and he's going to be a stud in Buffalo, trust me. But going to AB, you think you have the power. You think you are the NFL. The NFL guys ain't going to back you up. You think you're going to be able to go down to play with Cam Newton in Carolina because they do need a receiver? Got it.
Desperately.
You think
that's interesting. You think Cam Newton is thinking, Coach, I can calm this guy down?
Mm-mm.
No? Cam hasn't had a target since Steve Smith.
I totally agree with you, but I don't think that they want that headache.
They got Eric Reed.
Okay, you want to know, let's be real, why they got Eric Reed. People fail to realize what happened and why the Carolina Panthers are under new ownership. It's because the previous owner was a dick, and the previous owner also intimidated and had sexual allegation charges against him. They got Eric Reed for PR purposes because they were actually okay in the secondary. Shout out to Norris Searcy, who's my wife's cousin's husband, who was actually pretty good back there in that backfield, in that secondary. But they picked Eric Reed look how Eric Reed's acting now. He's still against the owners. He's still acting a fool. And I'm like, eventually, if he gets one bad injury or he struggles, they're going to cut him before the season ends. I'm just saying.
I mean, but he got paid. He just got a new contract.
He got paid also. He got paid by the NFL.
Yeah, but he just got a new contract. I mean, clearly his antics aren't really a problem down there because they rewarded him with a contract extension.
True. But we're still talking about antics of him versus the antics of AB.
Yeah, and AB, like I said, once he starts playing football games, and that's what the video showed. John Gruden said the same thing that I've been saying. They were really hoping that he would just shut up and play football, and he's more than a football player. Well, he hasn't showed me anything else. Off the field, he showed me a complete nightmare. I'm a little embarrassed for him.
Who knows? As the old adage goes, you are what they say they are. He showed it.
But this guy is
a talent.
Like, here's the places that I think that he could have went. But like I told you over the phone a little bit ago, if you don't make it in Oakland, I don't know where you can make it because they basically take everyone's rejects and try to make them into salvageable players. If you don't make it there, I just don't know. But Dallas Cowboys and Jerry Jones.
No, Jerry ain't gonna do. Fail to realize, Jerry is still. He has to be the biggest ego. You're still talking about a man that told Tony Romo to stop dating Jessica Simpson because about too much media attention. Jerry has to be still the creme de la creme. No one's going to top Jerry. He's not going to have a player that's going to top him on ego. AB will not.
But Jerry wants to win a title before he dies. And that kind of talent, even with Dak Prescott's lack of being an elite quarterback, you surround him with that much talent, it makes him even look that much better.
All right, well, put yourself in the GM shoes. Do you want that headache?
The GM is Stephen Jones.
No, I'm saying, I get that, but do you want to go ahead, now put yourself in Stephen Jones' place. Do you want to give him that much money? Because he's still going to command money, and
he's not going to get money. I think him and first off, Drew Rosenhaus is puking this morning because he knows AB's not going to get paid, and he just lost a lot of daggone money. But he's got to be setting that expectation to AB. Listen, you went way too far. If someone takes you, you're not going to get but maybe $5 million a year, maybe. And I think that's being generous. I think he might get a 1-year, $5 million. Can you prove you can actually shut up and play football deal? And I can see Stephen Jones saying, well, my dad's getting up there. If I go and pay this $5 million, I might be able to just get my dad that championship.
I still don't see that. Like I said, it's too much of a headache.
I don't think Dak Prescott would be able to handle it. That's for sure.
That's the other factor.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. You're putting all it into Dak. You're not putting it into Stephen Jones. Into the rest of the team. You're putting it into Dak. If you cut Dez Bryant, and Dez wasn't getting paid. Dez was on the last part of his contract.
And he wasn't nearly this bad. He looks
right.
like a model citizen right now.
And was willing to come back. This is the thing that people fail to realize. He was willing to come back to the Cowboys for almost next to nothing. Like, I'll come to Jerry World for change. So my thing is do you really think he's really going to go ahead and deal with that? If you cut the hit basically from what Dak was calling, not Dak, what Jerry was, not Jerry, I'm sorry, Dez. Dez was calling him basically his son. When you sit there and say, I'm Jerry's like a father to me. Really? Sorry, man. I don't see that happening.
Yeah.
You may have to look elsewhere.
Well, that's, like I said, that's one place. The only other place, only places are either in Florida or pretty close to it. Carolina and Florida. Carolina, just because they're just that desperate for wide receiver talent.
I'm going to say one more. I forgot about them. I wouldn't be shocked if it was, Jacksonville. They need a receiver. You put all that money into Nick Foles, you still got to prove out Leonard Fournette right now. If I was any defensive team or any defensive coordinator, I'm putting it in the box and making Nick Foles beat me. And they gave up all the receivers 2 years ago. The only problem is AB is from Florida. That's almost like giving him what he wants, which is scary.
It's not about that part. Do you think Jacksonville would take that kind of chance in their locker room? But, most of what we're hearing is in the locker room, they mostly like the guy. It's just his antics. So, do you think Jacksonville, isn't that Tom Coughlin's team? Yeah. No, you can nix that. You can nix that. You can nix that. I just remembered who's running that organization. You can nix that. So, Carolina and the Dolphins.
Yeah, that's it, because I just thought about it. Yeah, if Coughlin ain't want to deal with Odell Beckham, who right now Odell Beckham is looking like a pure angel.
A Girl Scout.
Yeah.
But once upon a time, Andy Reid would be a place, but not happening in Kansas City. Miami, I don't see why they would do that to a first-year head coach. I just don't. Carolina, they're probably the team that if anybody's going to do it, they might take that chance. Other than that, I'm looking around the league. Old school days, I'd say Philadelphia, but not anymore.
Cleveland, not anymore. Definitely not Cleveland anymore.
I wouldn't say Green Bay because they got a first-year head coach too.
Okay, I got another one. Same division as the Cowboys, Redskins. You got a quarterback in the waiting in Haskins. They got rid of Dotson. You have no other real big options. I mean, what are you going to rely on Pierre Garçon?
But that's John Gruden's brother.
Yeah, that's true too. That is true too. Yeah,
I mean, like, where are you going to go? That's John Gruden's brother. I got nothing, man. Maybe the Giants. They are still trying to replace OBJ.
Think about it. If they got rid of OBJ because of his antics, and his antics were mainly on-field antics except for the look like cocaine situation in Paris, they're not going to deal with AB. Not at all.
I mean, you put him there with Saquon Barkley, and Daniel Jones' future automatically changes from I might be okay to, they can. I'm going to look like they actually knew what they were doing when they drafted me.
Yeah, I don't see that. The other team I could think of, and you may laugh at this one, somehow, some way, Bill Belichick may be looking at this like,
You're the second person to say that in 24 hours. So they told me that at work too, and I just don't see it.
Remember what he did with Randy Moss.
But here's your real dark horse. Tampa.
No.
Bruce Arians.
Okay, here's the thing. Remember who was the first one to come out and call AB a clown during the Steelers fiasco and went to bat for Ben Roethlisberger? Good old Bruce Arians. And what did AB say? Oh, this guy thinks he's cool because he wears a Kangol all the time. That is not going to happen. Bruce Arians is not going to do it because Bruce Arians is the one who said Steelers make receivers, but they can't lose a quarterback. So, in other words, you just clown AB. That ain't going to happen. Now with Bruce, I like the idea, but I don't see that happening now with Bruce.
So I'm hearing the breaking news right now on NFL Network. The Falcons expect to finalize the multi-year extension for Julio Jones, making him the highest paid receiver in the NFL.
Well,
I think that's a mistake.
Why?
I'm still sold on the fact that Julio is old and damaged goods. I don't think he's got 3 years left in him.
I see 3 years left in him, but more importantly, that's a business decision.
A business decision to make him the highest paid receiver in football?
Yeah, well, here's the problem. You got to keep him.
Is he the most productive receiver in football?
Over the last 5 years?
No. Over the last 2 years.
No, he's been hurt.
I'm not doing a contract over the last 5 years for someone that's still getting older by the day. I'm doing it off what you have done for me in the last 24 months. And in the last 24 months, Julio has not been a top 3 receiver. So I don't understand why he's now the highest paid receiver in football, other than he was holding that franchise hostage, knowing that he's the face of that organization, and they really didn't have a choice. But I wouldn't have paid him this kind of money.
I would have took a risk on it.
I wouldn't. I'm sorry. You're right. He's been hurt the last 24 months.
Atlanta got to sell tickets. This is not another business rule. This is why I always look at it two perspectives. You got to look at it as a football standpoint or a business standpoint. Atlanta got that brand new stadium, and they are losing fans. Matt Ryan is not Michael Vick,
and Julio Jones is already on the team. So re-signing him is gonna get you new ones.
I guess that's the only way they're thinking about it.
I mean, but obviously it's not gonna get you new fans. Because he was on the team last year.
Paying him about that much money.
I'm just saying, he's not better than Michael Thomas at this stage of his career.
Well, the fact is he's not. Michael Thomas is what, like 8 years younger than Julio. You're right.
So
Julio is on the last edge of his career. Atlanta did this, like I said, they don't know. It has to be strictly a business perspective. It's the only logical reason I could see that is it has to be business. It cannot be it's either business or loyalty, and I'd be surprised if it's loyalty because no NFL team is loyal to a player unless they're a quarterback.
But again, my contention is, how is it a business decision? Because you're not gaining any new fans because you're keeping Julio Jones. I can see if this was an acquisition, but this is a guy that's already on the team. And you said they're already having trouble selling tickets. You're not going to sell any more tickets because you extended a guy that's already on the team. Maybe they should have went out and spent some of this money on Antonio Brown.
Oh, boy. Hey, no, wait, time out. So you're going to put Antonio Brown in the strip club capital of America. Oh,
listen,
my God.
You said you're trying to sell tickets. You're trying to sell tickets, and if you put him out there with Julio, then you might make Julio that elite receiver again. Because now you can't double-team Julio. Because you can't double-team Julio and Antonio Brown. You don't have it. So
You sleeping on Calvin Ridley, man.
Calvin Ridley is no Antonio Brown.
No. No one needs to be Antonio Brown right now. But they have a good future coming with Calvin Ridley.
But you just said they're trying to sell tickets. An acquisition like Antonio Brown, that's instantly raises expectations to we're going back to the Super Bowl.
But let me ask you this question. Right now, at this point, with all the stuff me and you are talking about and everybody else in sports media right now, Do you think Antonio Brown has fans now still supporting him, or do they even his quote unquote fans? Antonio Brown to me acts like he is a singer, like he's a Beyonce, a Jay-Z.
But he is to wide receivers right now. He's the best
Correct.
in the game, and he wants to be treated like that. Unfortunately, in the ultimate team sport, it doesn't really work that way. But that's what he wants.
But that's exactly my point. Should he be treated like the one that he
Well,
is?
if you put him in Atlanta, he can't ask for that platform because it's Julio's team.
Mm-hmm.
So if he goes to Atlanta, you sell more tickets because it's instant expectations that you're going to win the Super Bowl with this receiving core, and he knows he's not that guy. So I think that's a good dark horse.
Can I be honest with you? Atlanta's not going to deal with that headache no more. You know damn well Atlanta is going to keep their nose clean forever and a day after everything that went down with Michael Vick over now 10 years ago.
Arthur Blank is old and he wants a championship.
I agree. Every team should want a championship.
But he's old.
To get a championship.
He's old and he wants one before he dies.
Dude,
he's never had one.
The owners of the Giants are old before they die. So
yeah, but they've had a championship before. This guy has never won a championship. That organization has never won a championship. And before he dies, I'm sure he wants that championship. So I think he might be willing to deal with that headache and tell the coaching staff, a veteran staff now, you need to manage this, and you need to manage it better than Oakland. But I want this title.
You got to think about it. The same veteran staff, I love that you said that comment, the same veteran staff that that still has the worst Super Bowl loss in NFL history. The biggest debacle.
But what I'm saying, if we both kind of agree that maybe Antonio Brown went to camp and saw how bad this team was and then decided to try to force his way out, maybe if he goes to a team like Atlanta that is in a much better place, especially if you add that piece, I'm thinking maybe. Even though I still don't think their quarterback has the cojones to control something like that. But I'm still thinking maybe.
If I'll be realistic with you, if I was the quarterback, you also got to realize who Matt Ryan's good friends with, that guy in Pittsburgh. If I was the quarterback.
The rapist in Pittsburgh.
Huh?
The rapist in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, well, they're friends. Because Matt Ryan's been to Pittsburgh several times for a lot of events that the Steelers have forced Ben to go ahead and do to clean up his image. But going back to what I was saying, the first call I would make if I was Matt Ryan is to Ben to say, hey, what do you think about being with AB?
Well, duh. Ben's going to say run for your life.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Antonio Brown, he's controlled enough of our show. We've given, what 30 minutes?
Yeah,
right? Or about 25 minutes. Let's move on. You wanted to talk about the Steelers and the Joe Hayden contract extension.
When I seen the extension, I was okay with it until I seen the money. The 2 years, $22 million extension, 3 years technically. It's a lot of money for Joe Hayden, who hasn't really been healthy more recently.
$11 million a year for a corner is a lot of money?
$9 million a year.
That's a lot of money?
That's a lot of money for a cornerback that can't
really?
stay healthy. Yeah, look at it. If he can stay healthy.
But he's your number one, right?
Okay, look at it right now. We don't have that many options. So
right, but he's your number one.
What yes, he is. What I'm hoping is Joe Hayden. Joe Hayden has had glimpses of old Joe from his Browns days, but nothing consistent because of injuries, not because of lack of playing or lack of talent. He rarely still gets burnt. He's not the interception machine he was, but he still rarely doesn't get burnt. I mean, unless he plays y'all. When we played Kansas City, he was getting torched by Hill.
Well, what's he going to do against Odell Beckham Jr. twice a year?
Here's the thing. I'm not really worried about Odell because Odell only does 3 different routes.
How about him and this now mysterious hip injury that's going to limit him on Monday?
Who, for Sean Davis or for
Odell Beckham? I'm sorry, tomorrow. So I'll say this: he's become a lot more injury prone.
Yeah, and you wonder why maybe the Giants got rid of him, maybe because of that as well.
Yeah,
it does
I can see it.
Seem like they knew it.
Yeah. So
and they didn't want to give him all that money, keep him with all that money, and this dude's not going to be able to contribute.
Right. So you think Joe Hayden has no problem covering Odell Beckham? Do you think Joe Hayden can be the Pro Bowl corner that he was?
I think he can if he can stay healthy. Again, his foot's back to normal. They kept him out most of the preseason for precautionary reasons because of his foot, and he doesn't have the back issues that he had last season either. With that being said, I think we're okay.
Wait, he didn't play in the preseason?
No, he didn't.
And then he's going to play Then he's going to play against the New England Patriots.
Well, here's the thing: who's New England's weapon? If you look at Steelers football, you know the real reason why we got killed was not because of any of the receivers. It was his trick plays, which that drives me insane with Tomlin. He falls for the trick plays all the time. And Gronk had his numbers expand against us. Gronk averaged over 125 yards a game against us because for some reason Tomlin never want to put a safety down to Gronk, and always wanted to see if he could have a linebacker to cover, but you can't cover a 6'7", 285 guy that can run a 4.5 and got hands. It ain't happening. Gronk, I will always say, is one of the top 3 greatest tight ends of all time. If not, well, no, he's not better than Tony G.
He's definitely not better than Tony G. He's definitely not better than Antonio Gates.
He's not better than
Shannon Sharp. I don't think so.
Not better than Shannon Sharp, but yeah. So I'll say top. Well, I debate about Gates, but
how can you? Look at the record books. Don't misconstrue the last 3 years when Antonio Gates has been playing way past his prime. Antonio Gates.
I'm talking about when he blocks. Gronk was a way better blocker than Gates.
Antonio Gates is probably top 2 tight ends of all time. I'm thinking Gonzalez, Gates, and you can flip those. But Antonio Gates, please, no, don't sell. I had to watch the Chiefs try to cover this guy for the last 10 years. Listen, he's the truth. He's the best. I think he's better than Tony G.
Woo, you saying a lot, bro.
I'm telling you the truth.
Go to me on tight end.
Listen, Tony G was great, but I watched both players, and Antonio Gates was a better athlete and a better football player.
The better football player, I'm surprised you said. Athlete, yes. I mean, Antonio Gates is our age, and actually my homeboy played against him in basketball when Gates was at, I think it was at Kent, if I'm not mistaken. For him to completely transition himself from never playing football in college, just playing football up until junior year of high school, into definitely Hall of Fame tight end.
Record-setting tight end.
Okay, record-setting tight end, whatever you want to call it. Still Hall of Fame tight end. We're both on the same agreement with that. I'm always going to give him this due. But here, going back to what we were talking about with the Steelers, Gronk was the reason why we lost a lot of games. With no Gronk, no real tight end for the Patriots, and a top draft pick is out. The kid Henry from ASU is out already, that's a huge red flag if your first round wide receiver is already out on the PUP list. We may have a chance now against them. Now, again, you're still talking about the Steelers playing against the guru, not Brady, but Belichick. That's still scary. So we got to see what we do. But do we have enough far as the secondary to cover against the Patriots? Yes. Against Cleveland, we'll see. That's going to be the matchup.
Wait. You emphatically said yes. So we are going to move past Joe Hayden. You think he's going to be? You think he can be the same guy? I think once you start getting injured in the secondary, those injuries tend to keep cycling through. So we'll see. I'm not mad about the contract. I think $9 million for your number one cornerback, even if he's injured often, is not what the Chiefs had to go through with, say, Eric Berry, because we were paying him a lot more money and he never was available. So I think,
he's still out there.
yeah, I think, yeah, he should have had surgery in January, but that's why he's still out there. I think Joe Hayden's contract is good. I think that $9 million a year, even if he misses a few games a year, is not bad at all. Now, moving to your second point, that you have enough to cover and win the game against the Patriots. Your second cornerback, I'm reading, is Steven Nelson?
So here's the thing. Yeah, I wasn't too happy with that one. Here's the thing that's killing me right now. Tomlin does not like starting rookies. But
Burns isn't a rookie anymore.
You notice I'm passing on Burns.
Oh, okay.
Going there with that. Justin Lay showed that he was actually a solid cornerback in the preseason, where I would rather take a risk on him.
Who was he covering in the preseason?
He played more. He played all 4 quarters, 3 of the 4 games. So I'm willing to take a chance on him.
Okay.
And the kid got to play one way or another. Devin Bush and Justin Lay played more preseason snaps than anybody on the Steelers team. I'd rather take those risks. Steven Nelson, after definitely talking with you, Lord, and then looking at his stats, can he be a solid number 2? Yeah, but then I start looking at his highlights, and he does not. His
zero ball skills.
He's a safety. He's a hitter.
Wait, but
he's a hitter.
Okay, he's a hitter. Don't call him a safety, because safety's got to have ball skills.
He's a hitter.
He's a linebacker trying to play corner.
He's Ryan Clark to me. When Ryan Clark first got to the Steelers. And Ryan Clark had to develop into being a nice safety for the Steelers. But Ryan Clark was just known as a hitter, and then they had to develop him. The only unfortunate thing is we don't have a Troy Polamalu to be with Ryan Clark to develop him to make him.
But you got him playing corner.
I got you, and that's what's kind of it's a little scary. I'm like, I don't know about this kid. I'm hoping he pans out. I really do.
Well, I was hoping that for the last 4 years, so good luck.
Yeah, that's a long time to be with it, but hopefully we'll kind of something. Tomlin picked him up strictly off of the interceptions he had. I'm like, okay, and the market was dry. That's the only 2 things I could see with Tomlin picking up dude.
He could have got Rashad Breeland, who the Chiefs got.
Yeah, but
Morris Claiborne, who the Chiefs got.
No, I'm sorry. We got to stop right there.
He's better than Steven Nelson.
He's also always injury prone, and he's one of the dumbest. Hear me out. The dumbest cornerbacks in NFL history. I don't give a fuck what nobody says on that one. Steven, you can keep that one with Claiborne. I'm sorry.
I'm just telling you, he's better than Steven Nelson. I watched Steven Nelson, and I watched him go every year from them telling me that he had this potential. He was going to be good. I don't care what his grades were. I watched this guy for 4 years. He has no ball skills. When the ball is in the air, he is a liability. He is going to grab. He is going to hold. You're going to see a lot of challenges on interference with this guy because he does not know how to play the football.
Well, here's the thing. We're going to have to see about what's going to happen because week 1, we may get a pass week 1, but
you're getting a pass week 1? Aren't you playing the Patriots?
Here's the thing. Patriots are going to run small little slants all day to head on them. We need to worry about our linebackers more than I need to worry about Tom Brady will go deep maybe 1 or 2 times. Tom Brady will go 10 to 15 yards a lot, especially against us. The only thing is now that we have an actual linebacker that can cover that middle section, because don't get me wrong, Vince Williams is an outside, not an inside. He can't cover and he can't run. He's a hitter. He basically should have been James Harrison's replacement. We'll see. I don't think so on that one. Nelson, That's all I can say.
And then you're going to Artie Burns. You're still waiting on him to be the player that was drafted 4 years ago.
Here's the thing with Artie Burns. People fail to realize this, and I think this is funny. He was not supposed to be drafted to the Steelers.
But he was.
He was. We were supposed to get William Jackson from UH. But just like in the last 3 previous years, Cincinnati, who had to pick before us, picked him. Yeah, that didn't work in our favor right there. Jackson ends up being Jackson ends up getting hurt, and Artie Burns was too small. And I've been the first one to say I didn't like the pick. You picked a guy that was only a starter at the 1 year. Yes, he was a track All-American for 3 years, so of course Tomlin's using the Al Davis theory of speed, but speed can't cover. Artie Burns' first game was against the Dallas Cowboys back in his rookie year, and Dez torched him for Lord knows how much. And after that point, I never looked at it again. I said, nah, we got to figure out this dude real quick and fast. So Artie did not get his extension, so I'm sure he'll probably be a free agent. I hope he can pan out so we can keep him. But if not, this was another bad draft pick from the Steelers, banking on speed versus talent. Can Artie Burns be a good slot corner? Yeah. But as far as a second, no. Personally, I would just have him on punt return and kick return, but that's just my personal opinion.
All right, I kind of drifted off because Cashley's talking about Antonio Brown on NFL Network, Good Morning Football right now. Kind of throwing Gruden under the bus, saying that Gruden shouldn't have been standing behind the general manager because it's John Gruden's team. I 100% agree, but we'll move right along. So Artie Burns is going to be a free agent next year, you're saying?
Artie Burns will be a free agent next year. Y'all can have him.
No. You take our trash, we don't want yours. Anyway, your captains were named.
Kendrell Bell. I always got to do that. I'm sorry, man. I love y'all for that.
Your captains were, you named captains in Pittsburgh, and you said Big Ben is a captain for the 6th year.
Can Ben right this bus? I mean, he's doing all the right things now after Le'Veon and definitely AB threw him under the bus.
He's looking real good right now.
Oh, yeah, he's looking exquisite.
Yeah, he looks like he's wearing a suit and everybody else is wearing shorts out on the corner. Like, he's looking really good right now because of what AB's doing. AB has made himself out to be that guy, that villain.
Correct. Now, can we consistently keep that momentum going with Ben as a captain? I'm not worried about any of our other captains as far as Hayward or any of those guys. Ben is the only one because the fact of the matter is you kind of know what you kind of got to worry about what the locker room is going to think afterwards. Where's the locker room shifted? Ben is doing Ben's doing more PR cleanup than Trump did when Trump got the sexual allegations going against him. It's the same thing. He's doing a PR job. So can he keep this clean reputation? Now we got Skip Bayless and a couple other NFL people talking about he's the dark horse to win MVP. Can Ben keep that?
Who?
Watch they got Ben going for it.
Well,
Ben's going to win MVP.
And you also heard Skip Bayless say that he's not sold on Patrick Mahomes yet, too, right?
Yeah, but he's doing that because Shannon Sharp loves Patrick Mahomes. They always do it. But on the flip side, Shannon Sharp can't stand Ben. So you know how that plays out.
So do you think Ben Roethlisberger is an MVP candidate?
No.
Okay. All right. I needed to be sure.
No.
I was going to take some money on that one.
I do think Ben can still go for another 4,000. Well, he had 5,000 last year, but he can go for 4,000 yards again. I do think that. I will put money on that.
I think he throws 18 or more interceptions this year.
My cousin and I had a bet. The over-under is 15.
I'm going over at 18.
Okay. You want to put 20 on that one?
I put 20 on that. I do it. I'm thinking he throws 18.
I got 15 on it, 15 or under, and the reason because he's my fantasy football starting quarterback.
We're going to compare lineups later. Wait. All right.
I got to go with that one.
All right. And finally, we kind of already touched it, Patriot problems.
how it works. Again, like I said before, we just got to go ahead and figure out how to stop. We don't have Gronk as an issue, but the little dunk and dive things will kill us.
You mean the 2-second releases, so you don't get any pressure on Tom?
Well, that's the thing. We've always got pressure on Tom. It's just the fact of the matter is he knows how to dump the damn ball, and we didn't have a middle linebacker that can cover over a carry. If you look at it more recently, the running back, James White, or whoever the hell the running back that was catching in the backfield, the running backs were shut down. But when Tom dumps it for 2 yards and a guy runs for 10, shit, we can't win it. Or you dump it to Edelman for 5 yards and then he does a post for 15. You know what I mean? Like I said, deep ball, we ain't got to worry about that because Tom don't go deep against us. He was either going Gronk or he's going short yardage. If Tomlin has to play this game correctly, and he has to stop making the same damn mistakes he's been doing for the last 5-6 years. The Patriots do the same damn plays, and we couldn't even stop it, which makes no sense to me.
So what you're saying is Tomlin is simply outclassed by Bill Belichick?
Outclassed? No. Outmatched? Sometimes.
The last 5 years?
Last 5 years, for the exception of 2017, which we got robbed. The Jesse James catch, we got robbed. Because that was a catch. They ruled it incomplete, and then all of a sudden Gronk does the same exact catch, and they ruled it a touchdown. Which to this day is why I was like, the Patriots do get favoritism. I don't give a damn what nobody says.
So you're not worried about Josh Gordon?
Nah, because they said they won't play him a lot because he's not in 100% shape yet.
All you need him to do is run a couple fly routes.
Not worried about Josh Gordon as much. If it's the middle of the season, Josh Gordon never had a great game against us. He never showed out when he did play against us.
So what's your prediction?
Score-wise?
Yeah.
24-23, New England.
So you're
close game. Won't be a blowout.
So you're predicting to lose your first game of the season.
Hey, I'm being honest with you. I'm being a real person versus just being a homer.
Well, I'm going to shock you. I don't buy Tom Brady. I don't buy it, and I'm not gonna keep changing my mind. I'm thinking this is the year he chokes. I'm going Steelers, 38-24.
We appreciate that.
All righty, let's move on to a real football team. Let's move up to Kansas City, Missouri, and my Kansas City Chiefs. All righty, let's get this thing started. We started off with exciting news and maybe the most low-key moment of all of the offseason. Quietly, the formerly accused domestic abuser Tyreek Hill has a new contract. 3 years, $54 million, $18 million a year, almost exactly what I predicted they were going to pay him. Definitely didn't go over the 3 years. Like I said, speed doesn't age well. What do you think? Does this finally make him a number one receiver across the league?
Across the league, yeah.
Well, last year he was called a return specialist by Jalen Ramsey. This year, Jalen's been pretty quiet.
Wait, stop yourself for a second. Jalen Ramsey talked a lot of talk. Now, see, the thing is, Jalen Ramsey mentored Deion Sanders, but Jalen is no Deion.
He is not.
Jalen talked a lot of trash, and he got ate up a lot last year. Ate a lot.
Yeah.
A lot, including, he got ate up by Odell. Odell got his revenge. He didn't say much about A.B. Pretty much every pissed-off quarterback went to Jalen Ramsey getting drugged done. That's why he's part of the reason why I think Jacksonville struggled last season. Because Jalen was getting – you open your mouth, you open up Pandora's box and see what you're going to get, and he got it. So I'm not going to sit there and say that Tyreek was ever a return specialist because he proved he's not. He proves he is a go-to receiver. He is a threat. Now, the only thing is now is how y'all going to balance out this threat with y'all new running situation now that officially now Damian Williams is your starter, although I don't think that's going to last too far in the season. I think he gets hurt and LaShawn McCoy comes in.
Well, Damian Williams has always been the starter. LaShawn McCoy was a last-minute roster addition. Now, because Coach Reed is selling him as a co-starter, that's what he's selling. But the starting running back in Kansas City has been Damian Williams since the moment that we cut Kareem Hunt. Make no mistakes about that. We appreciate the addition of McCoy. We're glad he's on board. We love to see what he's still got in the tank. Hopefully he has something, but he's still 31 years old. We're trying to win a Super Bowl, and if he doesn't have it, he won't be in Kansas City long, or he definitely won't be on the field. I'm excited to see what he's got, but again, this isn't an offense that's really predicated on running the football. So,
I don't know, but y'all need something to go ahead and balance it out too. Y'all can't have Patrick Mahomes. Y'all won't survive.
Well, Damian Williams had a good season after Kareem Hunt got cut, and it seems like the league is forgetting all about that, and obviously you too.
No, you're not understanding the point I'm trying to say. I'm not forgetting about him as far as what he did. I'm telling you the fact of the matter is him getting hurt.
Well, that's why LaShawn McCoy is in Kansas City.
This was his first healthy season last season. Because when he was in Miami, and even going back to his days at K-State, he was always hurt. So that's the issue. It's not about him being a stud. No, I agree with him. I told you, I had him on fantasy football years ago as my third running back. But my man can't stay healthy. Well, no, I picked him up. My man can't stay healthy, bro. That's the thing. That's why I think they brought in LaShawn McCoy. Yes, to run a two-back offense, more than likely to give some leeway to Damian, but also as an insurance policy in case he gets hurt. I mean, obviously, I got rid of Spencer Ware, so.
Oh, definitely needed an insurance policy. The numbers are in. Julio's extension, 3 years, $66 million, $22 million a year over the next 3 years. Officially the number one paid receiver in football. Michael Thomas, obviously now number 2. I'm not upset that it's 3 years, but I probably wouldn't have gone more than 2 with Julio, just based off of how much time he's missed over the last couple of years. You seem to think that they needed to do this.
Business move. I keep stressing that to you. That's a business move. That's not a football move.
Yeah, at this stage of his career, he's making $4 million more a year than Tyreek Hill, and that's all I'm saying. Alrighty. Now that Tyreek Hill's deal is done, the Chiefs have no barriers to re-signing Chris Jones. Yes, this is my weekly rant. Chris Jones needs to be paid. This guy got 15.5 sacks last year. He's going to be a free agent after the end of this year if we don't get a deal done. If they let him hit free agency, this is going to be Justin Houston all over again. Well, now we have to franchise him and pay him way more than what we need to pay him. They need to get this deal done now.
I'm going to keep telling you the same exact thing I've been telling you for the last 2 weeks. They're not going to make a new deal for him because that's a big money deal. Tyreek, y'all got away with it's not as big money compared to Justin's going to be big money. Until they figure out what's going on in Dallas so they can situate what's going on for Patrick Mahomes.
Dallas has nothing to do with Kansas City. Listen,
okay.
These two quarterbacks are not even in the same stratosphere, atmosphere, planet, none of that. Galaxy, universe. Right now, so we are not waiting on that.
Okay, so why haven't y'all made a move yet?
We've been talking to Patrick, but Patrick's not a free agent until the end of next season. So
okay, neither was Zeke Elliott, but they made a move.
Well, they had no choice because Zeke wasn't playing. Patrick Mahomes was the 10th overall pick, so he's getting a pretty good.
Y'all can make a move.
We can, but why?
Carson Wentz, remember, let's go back a couple years ago. Carson Wentz wasn't a free agent for 2 years, and they made the deal.
Carson Wentz is still overpaid. I'm sorry.
That's not what I'm not stressing about how much you get paid. I agree with the overpaid point. But if you're in a situation where you know this is your franchise, and we obviously know Patrick Mahomes is your franchise, and we already know that sooner rather than later, some quarterback is about to get overpaid, whether it's Dak or whomever else may be out there in that market, which is a limited market. Why don't y'all make the move to pay him?
So there's a couple things. Now that we've secured Tyreek for the 3 years that I thought we should have secured him for, I I think the next domino to fall is going to be Jones. But then I think it's going to get to the offseason. And then they really got to start talking about Travis Kelce and how his year went. This is a big year for Travis Kelce because the Chiefs really have to make a decision. Is he going to be part of this cast for the next 3 years, or are we going to go in a different direction? So I don't think Patrick's deal is done until Kelce's deal is done because we have time with Patrick. We can get him done next offseason and call it a day.
You would have want to said already that pretty much Kelce, if they had to choose money-wise, Kelce's probably going to be on his way to another team.
Yeah, and I think it's time that they are looking at that. And what I mean is, I wouldn't be surprised to see Travis Kelce traded next offseason.
So you're going to trade probably a top 5 tight end.
We did it before.
Y'all did it with Tony G. But
Yeah.
I think y'all did Tony G a favor.
Yeah, he wanted to move, and we moved him. And what happened? So
he did make it to the Super Bowl. He just didn't win.
Well, I'm glad he played in the game. And then trashed the Chiefs afterwards. But, I'm still mad that they put him in the Ring of Honor after all the things that he said. Anyway.
But, okay, time out. To go back on that, he's pissed. Y'all got rid of him. He's done everything to the team. You got to look at that as a personal perspective. That's like you being married. You've done everything you could in a relationship, and she still filed or he still files for divorce, although you didn't cheat. You did everything you could, and it just went south because y'all were doing it for whatever reason y'all wanted to. Yeah,
but
he had the right to be pissed.
What was he pissed off for? What was he mad for? Because we couldn't win? Well, we're just as mad about that as he was. I understand asking for a trade. I understand going down to Atlanta. But then to trash the organization that drafted you, that made you the best tight end of all time, because let's be frank, the Chiefs made him that because we couldn't find a receiver to throw to. Our wide receiver history at that time was absolutely horrible. So we needed to have a tight end, and that's where we were throwing the ball to. Maybe he's not the greatest tight end of all time if he plays or is drafted by another team. But because our need at that position in our offense, we had a role in making him the greatest tight end of all time. It wasn't just his athletic ability. And for him to leave the organization, come back and trash the organization as if we were the worst thing that ever happened to his career is absolutely awful. I'm not a Tony G fan anymore.
Okay, he's venting. And where did he retire as? Where did he go into the Hall of Fame as?
Well, that's because players don't get to choose in the NFL. This isn't Major League Baseball.
That is wrong. Yes, they do.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do, because Rod Woodson was asked if he could go in as a Steeler or as a Raven, and he sat there in an interview and said, I chose the Steelers, although I was pissed at the Steelers for releasing me. I could have been petty and went as a Raven. No, that is not true. You can pick who you want to go into the Hall of Fame as. Even Warren Sapp himself, he said, I still have problems with Tampa Bay to this day. But I chose them because of my brothers Derrick Brooks and my brother John Lynch, who should be in right now, to go in as a Buccaneer. But I could have been petty and went in as a Raider. So they do have a choice. That's not necessarily true. Even Randy Moss's best season, he could have won as a Patriot, although he only played 3. He chose to go in as a Viking. More, he said, because of the love he had for Denny Green and Carter and all of them, and they were his family versus him going that. So you got to check that out first. But no.
All members of the Hall of Fame are invited to attend the annual ceremony. Enshrinees do not go into the Pro Football Hall of Fame as a member of a certain team. Rather, all the enshrinees' affiliations are equally listed.
But why would they say that? And that's 3 different times where someone has actually said that they had the option to choose who they wanted to go into. Tony G went in as a Atlanta Falcon anyway because his numbers weren't as great as he was as a Chief. That's just a fact. None of the great.
I got all that, but I'm just telling you, it wasn't like he said, I'm going in as a Chief. He went into the Hall of Fame equally represented by both teams, and it just seems that way because he played more years in Kansas City, and he was more productive in Kansas City because the tight end position was a necessity in Kansas City. So Yeah, you can give him that he's venting this, that, and the other. Up until he came out talking that trash, Kansas City was thought of as a first-class organization inside the locker room. Yes, we had a couple of years where players made some bad decisions, but to come back and trash the organization the way he did, I'm sorry. And then for them to celebrate him and put him in the Ring of Honor, invite him to the playoff game, let him beat the drum, bro, he needs to go to Atlanta with that crap. He's a Falcon now. Let him be a Falcon.
You are venting on Tony G.
I've been doing it for a year now.
Bygones be bygones.
Nah, no bygones. Anyway, moving on. We've already talked about my weekly vent of Chris Jones, get the man paid. Going into this week, the Kansas City Chiefs face the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jaguars are the only team to slow down Mahomes' magic last year. Can Patrick Mahomes bounce back is a huge question that I have going into tomorrow. I expect him to play better. I expect Tyreek Hill to beat Jalen Ramsey like a drum. I think Mecole Hardman's addition in the slot just makes it almost impossible to stop the Chiefs' offense. And you still got Kelsey, and Sammy Watkins is probably the best number 2 receiver in football, at least on paper. I don't know that Mahomes really has a choice here but to do better than he did last year.
Rewind. Hold up. You said Sammy Watkins is the best number 2 receiver in football?
On paper, physically.
No.
Who's better?
Jarvis Landry.
Oh,
Cleveland.
Okay. I got you. You're right.
I hate to say it, but
I mean, you're right.
I gotta say that.
You're right. Jarvis Landry is as a number 2, which he's technically not on any other team.
Right.
Is the best number 2 in football. But Sammy's in the top 5.
Yeah. Okay. I get that.
All right. So I don't think anything other than Patrick has no choice but be better. Just because the offense is in a better spot. This is his now second year running the offense, so he's just naturally better. That game took place early in the season last year, and unlike the debacle that happened on Thursday Night Football, where neither one of these quarterbacks played preseason football, and it looked like they were out there playing the preseason game 3, Patrick Mahomes played preseason football. He was pretty accurate. He had a pretty good preseason. He practiced a lot. So I don't expect the Chiefs' offense to be stagnant, as we saw on Thursday night. And I don't know what defense has a chance. But if there's a defense that has a chance, it's the team that slowed down Patrick Mahomes' mania last year. So I'm very excited about this matchup. It's going to be a great litmus test for the kid, the reigning NFL MVP, hashtag PM15. What? Is all this untrue? Is any of it untrue? Is any of it untrue? Listen, I've been waiting my entire life. You don't understand. I'm 38 years old.
Acting like they're going to go 16-0.
No, this is the National Football League. So I don't believe that is possible. But what I'm saying is I've been waiting my entire life. I've been watching the Kansas City Chiefs since 1989. And the best quarterback we've had until now was freaking Joe Montana, as I'm walking on a cane trying to win a Super Bowl for an organization that hasn't won one since before, well, hell, was he even born? Anyway, so.
What about, hold up, Elvis Grbac?
Bro, go to hell.
Hold on, that Elvis Grbac was a true
awful quarterback.
quarterback.
Steve Bono, awful quarterback. The best quarterbacks that we've had in my lifetime were, and this is I love Trent Green, okay? But he's number 1. Well, a lot of fans would be mad if I don't say Alex Smith is number 1 in my lifetime, so I'll go with that just because of the numbers. I would love to see what Trent Green would have been had he not gotten illegally hit without a flag. But I have to go with Alex Smith, Trent Green, and then the bad part is Joe Montana's number 3. And then it's so bad that I think it's freaking David Craig. So, of course, I'm jumping. Huh?
Didn't Warren play for y'all?
Yeah, he wasn't a starter.
Okay. I just thought I was trying to figure out.
He wasn't.
I couldn't remember if he did or didn't.
No, he wasn't a starter. So yes, I'm excited about Patrick Mahomes. The Chiefs have a reigning MVP in my lifetime. So of course I'm on cloud nine talking about the reigning, defending, undisputed MVP of the National Football League. Hashtag PM15. He was the MVP. It is undisputed.
The MVP.
Exactly. Well, James Harden is doing it. And other players in the league tend to be on his side.
That's because James Harden has an ego.
It's other players in the league that tend to be on James Harden's side that he should have won the MVP last year.
That's because he has friends.
Well, but the numbers speak for themselves. He should have been MVP. No. Anyway,
we won't go. We'll set up for the NBA.
Yeah, we got a little while. We got another month to go. Anyway. Tomorrow debuts the 4-3 defense of the Kansas City Chiefs and Steve Spagnuolo. I have no clue what to expect. I have none. The only thing that I'm hopeful about is that we play Jacksonville, and I don't believe in Nick Foles. And our defensive line is going to get pressure. That's all I know. Other than that, I have no clue. I have no idea what to look forward to tomorrow on the defensive side of the football field.
Well, yeah, Chris Jones.
Like I said, we got Frank Clark, we got Chris Jones. Other than pressure, I have no idea what to expect. None. I have no idea. They moved my guy Dorian O'Daniel to like third string now, and he's probably the fastest linebacker. Could be in the league if he's allowed to play, but they feel like he's too small, but they won't make him a safety. So I don't know. I don't know what to expect tomorrow. I'm completely confused.
The good thing is y'all playing against Jacksonville, who has no offense.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Outside of Fournette.
Who's their number one receiver?
Lee.
Marquise Lee's their number one receiver. And I think number two is going to be former Chief number 3 receiver, Chris Conley. Oh, yeah. We'll see. I don't know what to expect. I know that I think the Chiefs are going to at least put up 28 points. I'm expecting 30 or more, but I'm going to go 28 just to be conservative. I think the final score is probably going to be 28-25 because I don't know what to expect on defense, but I do expect the Chiefs to win.
Really?
I don't know what to expect on defense. I have no clue. We had the worst
running the ball. They have no receivers, and Nick Foles is on.
Who had the worst rushing defense in the league last year?
Oh yeah, that may be
yeah. So I don't know what to expect. So I'm going 28-25 because our offense is explosive. Like I said, I ultimately probably expect more than 28 points, but I'm going to be conservative because it's the first game of the season. I do expect the Chiefs to win. I think anything less would be absolutely jaw-dropping, but we'll see. Moving on.
38-15.
Oh, yeah, and we don't have any depth at cornerback because we only have 4, technically 5, but breaking news. The Raiders have officially released Antonio Brown from the team.
Yes. Now the question, where is he going to go? I thought he was going to Miami. Watch. He's going to be in Miami.
Antonio Brown has kidnapped our entire show, and now we have to give him more time. He is now a free agent. Wow. Wow. Wow.
Wow. Probably want to see the Raiders. Watch.
Wow. So a top 5 receiver in the league right now is a free agent because he can't do his job.
He can't stay off of social media. What scares me, though, I can see him in New England.
But we need to talk about the Texans, and we got like 25 minutes.
Let's go to the Texans.
Jeez. Antonio Brown is released. Breaking news, everyone. This is live, and it just happened. Reporting by NFL Network, Antonio Brown is no longer Oakland Raiders. His theatrics were enough that John Gruden and the Raiders could no longer take it. Ultimately, John Gruden sided with the general manager. Antonio Brown asked for a release, and he got what he wished for. Now he's got to wonder if the rest of the National Football League is going to deal with any of his antics and sign him. Other than that, he might have earned his last dollar in the National Football League.
Keep in mind, he wants guaranteed money.
He's not getting guaranteed.
He can find a team, but he wants guaranteed money.
I don't think he's going to find a team. Like we talked earlier, and it was hypothetical. I guess it's real now. So we're going to be back on Wednesday. Maybe he'll have a team by then. Let's move on to Texans. The Texans trade. Let's talk about the big trade that brought them finally protection for their quarterback and a second receiver. Does this trade make them instant Super Bowl contenders, or is the rest of the league correct?
No.
Were the Texans robbed, and Bill O'Brien just signed his obituary?
Here's the thing. The Texans weren't robbed. Because to get robbed, you have to, they had to sell. Miami didn't sell the Texans on Laramie Tunsil. The Texans sold themselves on Laramie Tunsil. Now, to get rid of Clowney, the Clowney move I get, because you're not going to go ahead and spend $100 million on a guy that
has never had 10 sacks in the league.
But here's the thing I want to say. What's killing Clowney is three people. Clowney would have probably got a deal, but what's killing Clowney is three people. The guy that's on the other side of him, and J.J. Watt, who even in his hurt season still averaged over 10 sacks, and the two guys that got drafted behind him, and Khalil Mack and Aaron Donald. All three of those guys were Defensive Player of the Year at least once. Clowney's never even been a Pro Bowl starter. He's been an alternate twice out of the three times he's been in the Pro Bowl. You're not getting a $100 million contract.
So what you're saying is you do not agree with the sentiment around the league that the Texans did not give up too much?
They gave up too much for Clowney?
Just for both of the trades. Both of the trades. Trade City. They've turned Houston, H-Town, into Trade City.
Now, the Clowney deal, yeah, basically you trade them for a third-round pick because you get a backup guard, and then you get Barkevious Mingo, who's been on 4 teams since he's been drafted. He's been in 4 teams and only been in the league 5 years. So basically, you got a journeyman, a third-round pick. You could have held out for more. I'm sorry. Now,
but they got him out of the division. That I think was crucial.
I agree. You got him out of the division. You got him out of the conference.
Yeah.
Okay. Still, that trade wasn't as bad as the next one. The next one, the KC trade was also okay. That one was here and there because y'all were gonna cut Carlos Hyde.
Yeah, he was done in Kansas City.
I thought that was stupid. I was like, y'all was gonna cut him, and now it really was evident now that y'all brought in LaShawn. Y'all brought in LaShawn McCoy, and the ink wasn't off of his release papers from Buffalo. So I was like, okay, that was a dumb deal. The Miami deal was to me beyond stupid. Want to know why? The 3 factors. You traded 2 number 1s, a number 2, and a possible 3, a protected 3 for Tunsil, who was a top 20 pick, could have went top 5 if he didn't have the weed issues that leaked out on social media, and Kenny Steele. Now here's my factor.
But they finally have a number 2 receiver. They have not had that because Fuller's always hurt. Kiki QT is a number 3 slot at best, and he's also always hurt. So now they finally have a legitimate person that's going to be on the field opposite of what arguably is the best receiver in football, DeAndre Hopkins.
Cool, get that. Here's my problem with that situation you just brought up. Totally understand it, but when you look at the drafting, is Tunsil and Kelly Steele worth 2 number 1s and a number 2 and a number 3?
When you're trying to go to a Super Bowl this year?
This is all or nothing then.
Yeah, we talked about that.
The other factor is Kenny Stills was against the owner of the Dolphins any damn way. This goes back to the reason. Remember a couple years ago when they traded Dwayne Brown to Seattle?
Yeah.
For basically being
because of McNair's remarks. Right.
Right. Kenny Stills did the same thing. They already said.
You know, a piece came out that DeAndre Hopkins wanted to sit out that game after that too.
Correct, but of course you know you're gonna. That's the franchise. I mean,
was going to be
media, the Miami
released.
Herald, they were going to trade him or release him anyway because of his comments. He didn't want to be there. He was actually going to go ahead and try to find a way to get out of Miami anyway. So
Well,
basically, you gave the Texans a gift.
If that was the case, then they absolutely got robbed.
So, yeah, exactly. So here's my thing, because his comments, you have to realize when Jay-Z had his situation, the whole Jay-Z situation with the NFL, behind the closed doors that they didn't mention was that Stephen Ross, the owner of the Dolphins, had gave money to Trump to start his 2020 campaign, which Kenny Stills went on many rants about, including the fact that he doesn't know if he wants to be on this team or not. So in other words, basically, okay, we don't have to pay you. Yeah, you're number one, but you're our number one, but we're in a rebuilding situation anyway. Look at the quarterbacks. Okay, we're just going to find someone to trade you. So they got a number two for Kenny Stills. Now, don't get me wrong, Kenny Stills is nice. He ain't number two.
Yeah, I'm just looking at this trade based off of that. You're right. They were hosed. And
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because you didn't get a number two for Jarvis Landry. You didn't get a second-round pick for Jarvis Landry.
Exactly. Oh, yeah, they were absolutely hosed. And like we said, if it's really all or nothing, if he don't win a Super Bowl, if he loses in the first round of the playoffs, I think O'Brien's done.
He needs to.
I think, but I don't think, Cal McNair's kind of in love with him, so I don't know. Their running back situation, you did touch on the Carlos Hyde deal. Texans fans are unexpectedly excited about Duke Johnson. I don't think the Chargers will trade Melvin Gordon to them, but if they could get Melvin Gordon, but now they don't have anything to trade because everybody else has their first-round pick, so that's out of the question.
Nothing to trade.
Yeah, that's out of the question. So I don't know. Duke Johnson. I got people asking me about him on fantasy, and I'm like, this guy's your number one.
Duke Johnson was good at the U, but there's a reason why Cleveland got rid of him. Let me just be real. If he was so good, if he was so great, not only did they bring in Nick Chubb, drafted Nick Chubb.
Yeah, and then they went out and got Kareem Hunt.
Exactly.
So I don't know what the Texans fans are seeing in that. I don't know. They didn't. You're right. They didn't go for just one running back after that. They went for two. That's tragic.
And Carlos Hyde hasn't been good since his days at Ohio State. Him, Beanie Wells, those type of big running backs from Ohio State have not lasted long in the league. They have not had a good future. Outside of I forgot my man's name. Going back to the Colorette days, and of course Zeke. That's it. Other than that, no. The Texans got way too much, but this is their all or nothing year. You got, JJ's not getting any younger. Deshaun Deshaun got to prove himself now.
So let's go ahead and mix these last two then. I'm going to skip Tunsil because we kind of touched it. Let's go ahead and mix this running back with the defense. And since you brought up J.J. Watt, are they still the top defense?
No. I'm sorry.
I agree, especially at this stage of Watt's career.
Watt now.
Yeah.
You now can officially, because Whitney Merciless is great. Let me rephrase that. Whitney Merciless had only 7 sacks last year.
But he was injured too.
And he's always injury prone too. McKinney is a linebacker.
And the secondary is bleak.
Here's the thing, you got rid of your first and second cornerbacks in Kevin Johnson, who I get, he's always hurt, and Kareem Jackson. So now you're banking on Jonathan Joseph, who is way past his prime right now. The only reason why the Texans are happy right now is because of the Andrew Luck retirement, which we spoke about last week. Other than that, this division, they wouldn't win the division, let alone they'll make the playoffs because the division sucks. I'm just saying. That's just being real. unless Jacksonville comes and beat Jacksonville of 2 years ago, they'll win the division. But other than that, no one. The Texans are not a scary team to me, even with Laramie Tunsil and Kenny Stills. Can they win games? Of course. Can they win a division? Absolutely not. Not going to happen. Sorry.
I still think their front seven in Houston is, even without Clowney, is good. So we'll see. It sounds a lot like the Chiefs to me. The front seven, and I won't even say for the Chiefs because our line, we don't know. Yeah. Anyway.
Running game and line.
Yeah. It's not the line; it's the linebackers in Kansas City. I just don't know. I'm not sold on Hitchens. I don't know, but yeah. The Texans got to do it, and they're not going to. It's just the AFC is just entirely too good, and I think they thought they were getting good enough with Jarvis Landry's number 2 receiver, even though now Jarvis Landry is the number 2 receiver. So Jarvis's number 2 is now Hopkins' number 2, and neither one of those guys are a deep threat. So
Hopkins, again, is going to be extending his ass off. Hopkins will make it to the Pro Bowl, but, man, that dude is going to be tired by the time season's over with.
And ultimately, I still have the questions I have about Deshaun Watson and accuracy in the clutch. Until I see him do it, I'm going to have those questions. I don't have those questions about Mahomes because Mahomes brought the Chiefs back. Mahomes, every time he had a chance to bring them back, he brought them back. Now, if he ran out of time because we scored too quick, that's one thing. But he makes throws in the clutch. Watson hasn't. And Watson already...
The big thing is also with Mahomes, he has a coach that can really benefit to his style of play.
Well, Bill O'Brien's supposed to be an offensive guru, too.
Right, and that's the problem.
Yeah.
Bill O'Brien is still going to think he can make Deshaun Watson into Tom Brady, just like he tried with Case Keenum, Ryan Fitzpatrick. The list goes on and on and on, who's all been quarterback under the Texans realm under O'Brien.
Well, now he's got a guy.
Man, thanks to Rick Smith, and to get his guy, he gets fired, which is amazing to me.
Yeah.
They traded up, they got the guy. The guy is actually winning, and you fire the GM that got the guy, who also found J.J. Watt when J.J. Watt was predicted to be a late first round pick. They took a chance and took J.J. at 10, and J.J.'s looking like he's the best player out of that draft. That's including Von Miller and Cam Newton. But again, we already know why that happened, but that's another subject within itself. I just don't see the Texans, with all the moves they did, they're not banking on their future, and their future is still in Deshaun Watson, like it or not. So you trade all this up for basically saying, Deshaun, win or go home. And the only thing, like you said, I don't think Bill O'Brien loses his job is, one, not only is he the coach, he's the team president, but also the McNair love. It's sort of like Paul Brown had with Marvin Lewis all those years in Cincinnati. No matter how terrible they got, y'all still gave him love, and he still stayed a long-ass time. So finally, Paul Brown's son came in and said, hey, Dad, it's time for Marvin to go.
All righty. So we got the Chiefs. We got the Texans. We got about 10 minutes. I'm going to kind of throw a curveball at you because we need to do this. We need to do the predictions for the year.
Got it.
All righty. So we got to go around the divisions. Give me just 2 seconds. You ready to go?
Mm-hmm.
All righty. Still talking about Antonio Brown's release. Tumultuous tenure on ESPN right now.
That's going to be for the next month.
Less than a year.
Boy, fantasy football players are so mad. What the
You know what? You know the bad part is my manager just asked me yesterday because his draft sucked, bro. It was really bad. He had a chance to trade for Antonio Brown, and I was getting news of all this stuff. And initially I said, yeah, it's just going to be one game. But then I came back and said, no, they're saying that this is going to void his contract. I wouldn't do that trade, and he didn't, so I feel much better about myself. He's playing fantasy for money. All right. All right, so let's start the AFC East, where we got Buffalo, Miami, New England, and the Jets. We already know who we're both picking there.
Yeah, it's definitely not the Jets. We're going New England with
Or the
that one.
Bills.
That's easy.
Easy. The AFC North, your division. I know which way you're going. I'm going to go with Cleveland.
Oh, well, it look good on paper. Okay. All right.
And you're going Pittsburgh, correct?
Of course.
All
Going with
right.
the still 6-ring Kings.
All right. AFC South. This division is got to be Texans or bust, right?
I'm going with the Texans, yeah.
Well, because
I have.
Tennessee, no. No one knows what to expect out of Brissett. Nick Foles.
Side note, do you think that they paid Brissett way too much money? 2
No.
years, 3,
No, they got 2 years. $15 million a year. Yeah.
Bro, his record as a quarterback is
They
4
believe
and
in him.
10.
They believe in him.
Okay.
If they believe in him, it doesn't matter what the rest of us think.
I mean, I agree with you, but god damn, when I seen that, my eyes was like, whoa, that's a lot of money.
I did too, but if they believe in him, and if he turns out to be what they believe he is, that's a deal.
Hope so.
Yeah.
If they'd be more comfortable if they had more of an offensive-based coaching staff. Like, the coaching staff is mainly defense, but, I mean, okay.
I like Frank Reich. I don't know what you mean. That he's an offensive coach.
Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah.
I like Frank Reich as a quarterback on Carolina days. He stuck on Madden, but that's another subject.
Come on, bro. He's a career backup that got a shot because of one playoff game. I won't say who that playoff game was against because
He's Nick Foles.
Yeah. AFC West, everyone knows which way I'm going, but that division has the Denver Broncos, Kansas City Chiefs, Oakland Raiders without Antonio Brown, and Los Angeles Chargers. The rest of them, not to the rest of the NFL, not to the rest of people. You know, people still pick the Chargers every year to unseat the Chiefs. Every year. Every year. Every year they believe in Phillip Rivers. What they don't understand is until Andy Reid retires, that's our division.
That's true.
Moving on to the national.
Santa Claus is gonna be there for a while.
Yep. NFC East. You got the Cowboys, girls, Giants, Eagles, Skins.
I'm gonna go with the Eagles.
Yeah, I think that's pretty close to a no-brainer.
A lot of people saying the Cowboys, but I'm going to go with the Eagles because the fact of the matter is the Cowboys have no defense. They overpaid for DeMarcus Lawrence because they had no choice. All the other guys can't stay off the wing. And, yeah, they don't have – yeah, you got Zeke and all that, but I'm just going to say Philly's the more complete team out of that division.
Yeah,
and definitely ain't going to say the Redskins. I feel bad for Dwayne Haskins. He ain't going to last too much longer on the Redskins.
Well, he's not even playing. He's the backup. They went with
Case Keenum.
Yeah, Case is the starter.
Case Keenum is another Nick Foles. He's just smaller.
Hey, I still like Case. I'm not opposed to Case. NFC North. I think Thursday night's game kind of threw a wrench in what everybody else was going to say, but this division features the Green Bay Packers, Minnesota Vikings, Detroit Lions, and the Chicago Bears.
You're going to laugh, but I didn't have neither one of them winning this division. I have Minnesota.
Okay, I wouldn't laugh at that, but I still don't believe in Captain Kirk.
I don't believe in Captain Kirk, but okay. The Packers have no defense. The Bears.
It looked like they did on Thursday night, even though.
I mean, that's because the Bears. That's my next point. The Bears have no offense. One.
Hey, congratulations to Allen Robinson, though. Congratulations to Allen Robinson. He looks back.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Your best player on that offense for the Bears, you don't give him the ball, and that's Cohen.
Nah, the reason they did that is because the kid that they drafted was running the ball effectively, and Cohen wasn't. So I don't think that's the game plan. They just went with the hot hand.
Yeah, because Cohen had more receiving yards than he had
rushing yards. Yeah, because he wasn't effective running the ball. Their rookie was, and they went with the hot hand. You can't be mad at him for that. The problem wasn't.
And
Yeah, he's awful.
Trubisky.
He's awful.
Mhm.
He's awful. Yeah, that last throw in the triple coverage, that was awful. Moving on. So you say Minnesota. I'm not impressed with Aaron Rodgers and the way that offense looked, but I'm gonna attribute that to not being in the preseason. I think by week 3 or 4 he takes off. I'm Titletown. I'm going with Green Bay.
We'll see about. Well, that's the first time we probably differ on that one.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I just don't believe in Captain Kirk. All right, moving
Yeah,
on.
most overrated.
Yeah, moving on to the South. You got Atlanta, New Orleans, Tampa, and Carolina. So let me first predicate this on I have no idea where Antonio Brown is going. If Antonio Brown goes to Carolina, I'm going to come back and retract this. But to date, I think I have to go with the Saints because they're my Super Bowl pick.
I'm going to say the Saints, whether Carolina got Antonio Brown or not.
All right, so you're going Saints. I'm going Saints there. Last but not least, the AFC West. Rams, Cardinals, Niners, Hawks. I think this is a no-brainer.
Yeah, it's going to be the Rams.
Yeah, easy.
Although, here's the thing. I'm not sleeping on Seattle. It's just they got rid of so much between those Super Bowl years to now. Yeah, they got older and everything.
You know, Russ almost went undrafted in my fantasy football league. He got drafted the last round.
Who, Wilson?
Yeah.
Because Wilson doesn't score touchdowns like that.
Yeah.
He's an all-around player, but now he does the opposite of what he did in the Super Bowl. When they get close, instead of throwing it, they run the ball. I've had Russell Wilson in the fantasy football league before, and he was okay. Thank God he was my second, not my first.
So I'm going back to AFC wild card. I'm going with the Chargers, obviously, and whoever does not win the North.
Shit. I'll give you that.
All right. In the NFC, my wild cards, I got to go Atlanta. And then that second one, I just don't know. You can go anywhere from whoever doesn't win the North again or the Seahawks.
I'm going Seattle, Green Bay.
Okay, you go Seattle, Green Bay. All righty. Out of the AFC, who's your Super Bowl?
I hate to say this. I really do. Oh, boy. I got to go with the Chiefs.
Chiefs!
I have to. Because my Super Bowl pick is the NFL. Because here's the thing. The NFL completely jacked up the Super Bowl last year by a bad call with y'all and a horrible call with the Saints. For some odd reason, I end up thinking it's going to be, and I'll just say it now, the Saints and the Chiefs in the Super Bowl.
So we agree, Saints and Chiefs. I got the Chiefs 42-41 in the Super Bowl.
Nah, I got it going higher, bro.
Oh, you got it higher than 42-41?
I got it slightly higher than you, 45-43.
Okay, who's your winner?
The Saints.
So we differ at a couple things. You got the Saints over the Chiefs.
You're going to go with the Chiefs.
Well, I've never been able to say this my entire life. I honestly believe the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl. So I'm going
with the Saints, and Drew retires after this.
He's not retiring, man. He's still too good. He's my fantasy football starting quarterback. All right, folks, we got about 20 seconds left. We will be back on Wednesday. We may come back sooner, depending on how excited we are what happens tomorrow and whatever the hell else is going on with Antonio Brown. Thank you for listening to Underdog Sports. We'll see you next week.
Peace out.